What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with yet another album review for you guys, and today I'm talking about a band I've been hearing a lot of hype about, and I decided, you know what, why don't we check out this new release? We're talking about the latest offering from Hulder with Versus an Oath. This also came out on February 9th, this time on 20 bucks spin, and this is the second album from this black metal project of one Mars, or Marlies, I believe, originally from Belgium, now lives in near the Pacific Northwest area of the US, and this is her project. This is a black metal band, but also featuring her husband Sam Osborne from Funebrarum, and drummer Charlie Corin from Ascended Dead, and among so many other like underground extreme metal, mostly death metal bands. So this is pretty much these three on this album, and spoiler alert, this is some pretty awesome black metal. So the production on here, it was basically all Marlies doing the production, but with mixing and mastering help from one Ati Kortelainen, I believe, who he himself has done a lot of mixing and mastering and production for mostly Finnish bands like Sentenced and Demigod, Dramalek, Kalma, even Sonata Arctica. So, I will say, when it comes down to the production of this album, it's really good, but still raw, but with a damn good mix on here. Now, basically, the big thing about this band that I kept hearing about was just how Marley, she does keyboards, guitars, and vocals. And I have to say, she is a very talented musician. Like, her guitar work on this entire album is very tasteful with the riff writing and the melodies that she's performing on here, and her vocals. I have to say, she has some of the best female extreme vocals I've heard probably ever. Like, her black metal vocals are great, but she's also doing some like really nasty death roars on here too, and they are very, very potent. So, and Charlie's drum work pretty much across the board on this album, it's awesome, whether it be the triplet grooves or blast beats or doomy nods. He's doing a damn good job, especially with all the turnovers and fills that he's doing. Awesome performances. And then Sam on bass, some cool bass flourishes kind of show up here. But real quick, I want to talk about the three interludes slash instrumentals, because, well, two of the three I thought were kind of pointless. Like the opening track, an elegy, it's just birds squawking, I guess, to kind of give you like a nature vibe, but I just thought it was kind of pointless. And then Lamentation is mostly just like wailing, singing, but sounds like you're trying to change the channel on a radio and it won't change. I just thought that was kind of whatever. But An Offering was the better of the three, which isn't saying much, but this one was actually quite beautiful with the atmosphere and choirs, and it felt like something I could have heard off of Judas Priest Nostradamus. Now, that's not an insult, because I still like a lot of stuff on that album, a lot of things about that album, but not everything. This sounds like something that I think would have been on Nostradamus, and I think it would have been cool. I'm just pointing that out there. But let's get into the real meat and potatoes of the album. After An Elegy, you get to Buffs Ablaze, and immediately you get like early Satyricon, Emperor vibes with these tremolo melodies, but done in like a triplet pattern. And that's going to be a thing you're going to hear me say a lot. Drink a beer or take a shot every time I say triplet. So yeah, you get these triplet tremolo melodies and blast beats pretty much across the board on this entire album. But then the tremolos turn rather triumphant. Very much, like I said, like Emperor and early Satyricon. But then you get a nice triplet chug that feels a little closer to death metal, but with a touch of melody. So maybe like a chugging Black Dahlia Murder, but much more somber sounding and more dark. I guess you could say, because it's got more of a death metal flavor to it. Now, the keyboards and the synths and these chants that you get pretty much all throughout are tastefully done. It doesn't overpower the heaviness of the music or the melodies within the guitars. It complements everything quite well, I will say. Like, these keyboards and synths and chants are very well put together and complement everything beautifully. And then another thing you're going to get pretty much all over the place is different acoustic touches. Like here, these acoustic guitars feel more folky, and I like folkiness in my black metal to kind of change things up a little bit. But then we get to Hark in the End, which was the longest track of the album at over 7 minutes. Much more murky sounding with the guitars. Like, the guitars in the beginning are murky as hell, but with these keyboards providing that dark, cold atmosphere. But then you even get some, like, very well, not really tuneful, because they're kind of more in the background of the mix, but sorrowful, clean vocals that Marlies is doing, and they're pretty well done to kind of complement what's happening. And it's kind of doomy. Like, the first part of this track, it's more doom-laden. But then, out of nowhere, you get, like, cavernous death metal vibes with riffs that feel like they could belong on, like, a Funebrarum, a Disma, or even an Incantation album, but done in a different style. And then suddenly it gets somber again, and the somber atmosphere is all over the place in the second half of the song, and then the acoustics come back, but I feel they're more gothic. They were kind of more like gothic acoustic guitars. Then the title track, you get immediate blasts and tremolos with those keyboards, very much like something you would hear on In the Nightside Eclipse. And it feels very battle-driven. Like, that's kind of a hidden thing with this album. This feels like it's geared for a battle. After all, old Hulder's been called dark medieval black metal, which definitely fits this for sure. But then suddenly the mood shifts and it becomes a lot darker, but with, like, more of that triplet rhythm and ascending, crawling riffs. And then you get to an offering, which leads nicely into Cast in the Well of Remembrance. And this, more triplet grooves, but not only with, like, the Emperor keyboards and atmosphere, but the riffing going on feels like early Opeth. And I'm talking Orchid and Morning Rise in particular. Like, it has that kind of feeling to it. And the riffs here are very, very catchy on this track. And then you get to a heavy triplet chug with low-end death metal tremolos before you get more progressive acoustic guitars. Vessel of Suffering, probably the heaviest and most aggressive song of the album, as these tremolos that started off feel a lot like Morbid Angel, but more cavernous and more blackened. But then it just gets really melodic, and this almost feels like we're entering the third act of an epic battle movie to some degree. And then you get to Enchanted Steel, where you get those cavernous tremolos coming back, and another cool triplet chug that's more death metal lenient, somber tremolo melodies, but then you get that groove, that old Opeth groove, and this is definitely more close to, say, like My Arms, Your Hearse, or Ghost Reveries. And then we get to Veil of Penitence, where it's very epic, really epic, very much like Dissection to some extent with how melodic it gets, and it definitely sounds like we're reaching the end of this big epic battle, but it gets back to being cavernous again, and then you get some more of those low-end tremolos and more folky acoustic guitars. So yeah, I said triplets a lot on here, which is one of the big positives, but maybe the one negative that I have about this album. It definitely hangs on the triplet rhythms quite a bit, which I love triplet rhythms because you can, like, bob your head to it, whether it be in black metal or death metal or thrash metal, even doom metal. But it definitely does hang on that quite a bit, and I would have liked to have heard some more rhythm variations, like more like straightforward rhythms, not so much triplets. But these triplet patterns are awesome, and I love every single triplet pattern on here. I just wish that maybe, especially for the shorter tracks, they could have added a section where the rhythms are more straightforward, and it could have broken everything up a little bit more. But overall, this was awesome journey of an album to get into, so I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. I thought this was a damn good album, and now I am officially a Hulder fan, and I need to check out the debut album, and maybe also the EP that came out, I believe it was either last year or 2 years ago, I can't remember. But yeah, I definitely need to check out and get all of Hulder's stuff, because this is some awesome, riffy, atmospheric black metal that I can get into. But of course, those are just my opinions. What did you guys think of Versus an Oath by Hulder? Let me know in the comments, and until next time, keep your horns high and your dreams wet.